Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Shroomy and I'm a mixed media artist. I make all kinds of different mixed media art mainly, and today I am trying Acryla Gouache for the very first time. So this video actually dates back to around December time when I received these lovely Acryla Gouache as a gift. And yeah, I got them delivered to my house. It was a little bit of a hassle. They were stuck in customs because they are imports from Japan. Since they were on my wish list, that's what my mum ordered, and yeah, there was definitely better places to order from, but we didn't know any better. But anyway, so they were stuck for ages in the customs and things like that, so I had a long wait for them. Around like 3 weeks it took for me to get them. But once I did, I got a message on my phone while I was at work, and as soon as I finished work I rushed home to try them, to open them, and of course I made this illustration straight in there. I ate some dinner and I got to work, and oh my god, it was an absolute game changer. I had never used a medium besides acrylic itself. I had never tried I don't really use acrylic in my day-to-day drawing life art thing. I do love gouache. I love using gouache and watercolor and things like that, so I mainly love them because they dry matte, and it's so interesting and like fascinating to use because the finished result is so nice, very illustrative. That's what I resonate with the most, the super matte effect. And yeah, I love the way that these dry. I did use them a little bit more watery. I don't actually do that much anymore. I don't do like a watercolor effect first, but that's because I didn't really know what I was expecting with these. But I love the fact that they don't smudge underneath and you can just keep layering without the bottom layer moving, which is actually really cool and very helpful. So the illustration that I'm working on is something I sketched in my sketchbook, as I showed you a clip of. All I did was just copy it pretty much and just draw it bigger, try and recreate it on this paper. The paper that I'm using for this is the Hanamule hot pressed watercolor paper, and it works. It dries lovely. I love the texture, and yeah, you can, I don't know, I'm so in love with these paints, and since I got them and I tried them, I fell in love, and I've used them all the time since. You did see me smudge some of the paint on this paper because I was tired, I was exhausted, I was, rushing after work. I only had a couple of hours before having to go to bed, so I really wasn't being very careful. I was being quite messy, and you can see on the right side, it's my sleeve. I kept rubbing the paint onto something when I was picking up the paint, and it just kept putting on the paper, so I did decide to fix it in the end. Sometimes it helps me to get to painting or get into a more creative peace of mind by reusing old sketches from my sketchbook. I really do love doing that, and I loved the way that this illustration came out. There was definitely other things that I wanted to add to it, but I I enjoyed the way that it turned out, and for my very first time using Acryla Gouache, I think you can tell that I was a little bit nervous and scared, and the way that I'm doing it is a little bit more of like a technique that you'd use with like regular gouache, but I think it works. Like, you can really water it down, and you know, it does work in layers as well. Another thing I noticed pretty much straight away, that using this Acryla Gouache, it dries so quickly as soon as you take it out the tube. I'm using the like peelable palette thing, and yeah, it just dries extremely fast, so you do need to be careful with putting the paint out. But pretty much straight away when I used them for the first time, I was like, I need something a bit more dedicated for Acryla Gouache or acrylic paint in general. So I did start looking into the Stay Wet palette, and I got one, and it's an absolute game changer. You can leave your paints wet for days, weeks, and the paint just doesn't dry up, and it's, you know, you don't waste paint that way. And since Acryla Gouache is quite expensive, I think it's the best thing you can do. I didn't really know what I was doing. You can kind of see I'm being really like scared. I already mentioned that, but it was nice to experiment for the first time. I did come into the realization that it's kind of hard to blend, but I think that comes with time, because especially I'm watering them down, so I think that's why it's hard to blend with them. I will be honest, since I got them for the first time and used them for the first time here, I can see a massive difference and a massive improvement. So if you are, you know, not very good at a certain material, or you don't like a certain something, I'm not sure, or the way that it applies, just keep trying. I guarantee once you get the hang of the actual equipment, you will enjoy it. It just takes a little bit time and a little bit of motivation to get into the headspace of using certain things, and that's very normal, I think, for creative people in general. I think we lose motivation, and if we do, we call it art block. But I have seen multiple like people talk about, you know, if art block is a thing or not, and I kind of agree. If you nurture and take care of your creativity, I think there is nothing that will stop you. I think if you start to put so much pressure on yourself to make certain things constantly, that might stray you away from creating. So my biggest advice is just take it easy. Just relax and try and not, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you don't feel like drawing a certain day, do something else. Just do something else. Don't force yourself to make art, because I think forcing yourself to do something is never a good thing unless it's to benefit yourself. But in the space for art, I feel like if you sometimes don't feel motivated to draw, do something else. Like, I don't know, do research, put together like mood boards of things that you would like, set yourself some goals. I feel like it's something that everybody talks about, but people just forget to do it. I'm a very unorganized person. I don't do well with schedules and lists and things like that, so it's all kind of kept in my own head. Sometimes it's nice to get it out on paper and do like a little checklist or whatever. It's super nice to tick bits off that you've done. It feels like, you know, you accomplished something, but most of the time it's all in my head, and I kind of have that mental checklist. But I I don't know, sometimes I need to take my own advice, because I do also stress about the fact that I don't make enough art. But when I look back to a couple of years ago, I didn't make much art at all. Like one of my previous sketchbooks, it took me like 3 years to finish, so what do I know? But I am a lot better now. I think the way that, I don't know, it's hard to explain, because I'm in a much better headspace right now. I don't feel as like mentally ill anymore. And I think changing your environment and changing your perspective, and just, you know, learning more about yourself, and I don't know, taking yourself less serious, I think has really helped me for my artistic abilities as well. I really stopped worrying about style and all of the things that, you know, is so obvious on the internet right now. Like, everybody's got their own style, and they don't do anything other than that one style, and then it makes everybody else think, oh my god, like I need my own thing as well, and they try and grasp at something that they haven't even developed yet. And that was me. That was exactly who I was. I didn't know what to do. And when I look back at this, I'm still learning, don't get me wrong. I'm nowhere near to a place that I want to be at, but I can notice such a massive difference, and it's so crazy to look back. So I have two Instagrams. So one of my Instagrams I made back in like 2020, super long time ago, and that's where I posted a lot of art, especially from uni and things like that. And to go on that Instagram and compare it to my current Instagram, it's so interesting. It's so, I don't know how to explain it. It's like so much more steady. Like, I think that's the word that I would describe it as. It's steady. There isn't so much chaos. I think that's what the problem was. I was too chaotic with the things that I was doing. I think I've slowed down a lot more in the sense of like making things. Like, I take my time more, and I don't know, like, it's just a bit more put together, I think. And that's probably where people keep saying that they like my art style, and, you know, they like the way that I make art and stuff. And sometimes I don't see it still. I don't feel like I have an art style, but I have made a bunch of art since, especially this piece, and I do start to notice a pattern now. And I think I've mentioned this in one of my other YouTube videos as well. I do notice a pattern now, and it's very interesting to see. And all I can suggest is just keep going and just practice the things that you like to do. And if you don't like something, you know, make something else or do something similar. Sometimes I have to redo pieces as well, and it's normal. It's part of the journey, and that's all I can suggest. But yeah, what I decided to do was draw some flowers, just super free-handed flowers. As you saw, I didn't use a sketch for them, and that was actually really interesting. And I've been meaning to do stuff like this more. I don't usually paint just straight up. I usually have guidelines, but for this one I really loved the freedom and the movement in these petals and these flowers. It's so interesting. But the only reason why I added them was because of the smudge marks that I couldn't cover. Yeah, I added some Posca dots, and using some of these polychromo pencils just to bring in some shapes and movements and just a bit more detail into the piece. And that's pretty much everything. I'm sorry about the rambles, but I hope you can resonate with something. Sometimes I just yap, and that's just who I am as a person. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm gonna leave you guys here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.